Today on the Social Investing Network, it's crypto, it's stocks, it's Tulipmania. We'll explain why people are using spring blooming flowers to describe their portfolio risk analysis. Plus, Fox breaks the bank for Tom Brady. The GOAT just signed the biggest deal ever for an NFL broadcaster. But is that actually a bad thing for Fox? And pack your bags for Bitcoin City. El Salvador unveiled plans for its newest development where there are no taxes and everything is powered by a volcano. Delano, you know any good realtors?
I'm not sure I'm ready to make that move just yet, Zaid. And finally on the show, the Nifty Chicks. We'll talk to the podcasting duo about women in the NFT space, traditional finance, evolving embracement of crypto, and much more. So stick with us. And of course, subscribe below. Hit the notification button. Let's get into it.
According to the New York Post, Tom Brady is about to get paid. Fox is signing him to a $375 million deal to join the booth when he retires. And has anyone had a better year than Tom Brady? I mean, like a better year than football announcers? I mean, like Delano, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck got paid by ESPN to do the Monday Night Football. And now Tom Brady's getting the max contract from Fox. I mean, my God, that's a lot of money just to call football games. I mean, what do you think, man?
Zaid, as of now, if the reports are true, remember Fox came back and said not everything is as accurate as they're portraying it right now. His total, as of now, if the reports are true, his total Fox contract value is higher than his on-field earnings, which spans over 2 decades of potentially possibly the greatest athletic career that we've ever seen. That's even if you count the $30 million he's expected to make this year on the field for the Bucks. And really, Fox knows that you want a recognizable talent that has an incredible brand. He popped up on social media like 3-4 years ago, grew his following, started a podcast, started posting. People started to fall in love with this brand that they already knew so much about him. They learned a lot more. So Fox knows that. And not only is he going to be doing football stuff, he could be used outside of football stuff. Fox has a lot of content where they can stick one of the most recognizable faces in, and they can potentially draw an audience, Zaid.
Yeah, it's true. As far as his social media presence, I follow him on TikTok. He's actually pretty funny, which is crazy, right? Like, you would never thought that New England Tom Brady would be like this funny, this charismatic. I always thought he was like this stoic, just kind of like, reserved guy. But he's actually like a pretty funny, charismatic dude. So I guess it does make sense that way. Just, the initial sticker shock to me was just like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. But you're right, Fox could kind of use him as, just a way to further their brand. And I guess they were looking for that talent after Troy Aikman and Joe Buck left. So maybe that makes sense. And, I'm not going to lie to you, Delano. Growing up, I was always a Peyton Manning guy. I was always like Peyton Manning over Tom. Yeah, I was always a Peyton Manning guy. And obviously, as their careers progressed, Brady obviously surpassed him and is the GOAT, no doubt. But Peyton Manning is really good in the booth. And so I was like, what if Tom Brady takes this job and is just really, really bad? But then I realized that, there's no way that's going to happen, right? Like, Brady is so wired and so competitive, and he knows how good Peyton is in the booth. He's going to do everything he can to be just as good as Peyton, if not better.
Exactly. What we know about him, one of the things we do know about him, is this man is a competitor. If you win, the 7 Super Bowl rings now, you're still not finished. It means you love to compete. And of course, we know there's the Manning cast, which is actually really, really funny. Him and his brother Eli. It's a really funny show. So Tom Brady, of course, knows that there's an expectation that he wants to meet off the field when he finishes his career. And that's going to be tough to do, but he's going to have a lot of competition doing it.
Yeah. I just wonder if we see a correction in the salaries that these football announcers are making, because it's getting a lot, and I wonder if it just keeps getting bigger, or if we're going to see a bit of a correction, or if it's just like, hey, Brady's getting the max contract because he's Brady. So it'll be interesting to see that.
Yesterday's price is not today's price, Zaid. It's going up. It's going up. Speaking of something that may be coming up soon, El Salvador president unveils a new plans for Bitcoin City. Let's talk about it. So El Salvador unveiled plans for Bitcoin City, but will it become reality? The president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, released a model of Bitcoin City after announcing he bought the dip. The nation state did buy the Bitcoin dip. And the first pictures of the city were released, and it showcased a golden city with a Bitcoin centerpiece and a caption from Bukele stating, "Bitcoin City is coming along beautifully." So Bitcoin City is said to going to have 0% income tax, 0% capital gains tax, no payroll tax or property taxes. So pretty much kind of like utopia, right? It sounds like. They will as well have zero CO2 emissions. One last tidbit, geothermal energy from a volcano will be used to power the city as well as to mine Bitcoins. This is really intriguing. I know this seems like utopia in a long shot. You have no taxes, you have streets paved with gold, apparently, even though he said that's not going to really look like that. But can this be actually reality? I mean, if this comes true, it'd be really, really cool. I know the Salvadorian president is really behind pushing cryptocurrency as a way to help his country. But the thing is, can they actually do this? Do they have the funds to do this, Zaid?
Yeah, I don't see this as happening at all. I mean, diving into some of the details a little bit, I was looking at the pictures, and yeah, like it's a great marketing scheme, and like it probably plays well on Twitter. You get a bunch of likes. Like, look at those pictures. Like, it just looks great, and it looks so futuristic. But I mean, El Salvador is. I feel like they have a lot of other problems happening in their country as well. You see, you hear about poverty. You hear about gang violence. This is way different than a Middle Eastern country that has billions and billions of dollars of income from oil reserves, announcing a futuristic city on the in the desert. This is way different. And obviously, with right now Bitcoin the price of Bitcoin slumping a little bit. I mean, I think that the president of El Salvador, his initial investment on Bitcoin, he's down on. So like, I don't understand how this gets paid for. They're allocating what, $500 million or something around those lines to build this thing. Tell $500 million does not build what that guy is trying to build right there. So how is this going to work? Like, I just don't see it.
Zaid, I agree with you on the funds. That part, they have to secure those funds. That has to be figured out. But one thing is, you mentioned that some of the dire things going on in that country is like, this is hope. A lot of the Bitcoin maximists, a lot of people talk about hope. And I think some of what he's trying to instill in his country and his citizens is hope. And if they can look for something and believe in something in the future, maybe they start to work towards something and they get somewhere. Maybe they don't get fully to an amazing Bitcoin city with streets paved of gold, but they get somewhere in between, right? Like that would probably be the best case scenario possibly.
I guess that's true. If they can get to like 25% of the vision that the president of El Salvador has, I guess I'd consider that a win. I'm skeptical, but I want to be hopeful.
Yes, 100%. Zaid, we will let you take a break for a little bit. We're going to bring in our amazing guests to come and speak with us for a bit. So today we are lucky enough to speak with two women who have combined their knowledge of finance and crypto to create a podcast dedicated to highlighting women in NFTs. And they're focusing on projects created and led and featuring women in the NFT space. So please welcome Jenft and Mint-Ecell, also known as the Nifty Chicks. How are you ladies doing today?
Very good.
We are happy to have you guys on. So, I know you guys focus on women in NFTs. And for those who don't know, some of the reports have shown that women account for only about 16% of NFT artists, which is clearly obviously a low percentage. Why do you guys think that is? And what are some of the things we can do to close that gap?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I actually just got back from Portugal speaking on that topic of how women are changing the Nifty world. And Jenft and I will be actually speaking on that in New York next month at NFT NYC. And I've been in the crypto space for about 4.5 years now, and definitely I have seen a change, and there are more women coming into the space, but it's definitely slow growing. And the NFT space, when I was in Portugal, I was actually very surprised to the amount of women that were there. However, I know, Jenna, you were looking at some numbers the other day about women in this space. What did you find there?
Yeah, so I think it's an unfortunate reality, right? So, the reports are 16% of NFT people in NFTs are women artists, and I think unfortunately, like the question is, why is that? And I think it's a little bit of a couple of things. So one factor is whether women truly have the financial independence and freedom to make their own decisions. I question if that's true. The other component is education and knowledge. So do women have the same access, time, also financial resources to get educated about NFTs and the possibilities in NFTs? And then three, the reality is that the space has been very kind of not only male dominant, but also attracting to males. So like if you think about the NFTs that kind of kicked off the journey of NFTs, you got the CryptoPunks, you got the Bored Apes. Women, that's just not something that women find interesting. And so the reality is that a lot of the projects have been the original projects have been created by men for men. And what we're going to be seeing, and we already have started to see the shift of NFTs starting to become more feminine, right? So you've got World of Women, Boss Beauty, some really feminine NFT projects. And so I think the shift is going to happen, but we're a couple of years behind. CryptoPunks was, really took off or started in 2017, and World of Women started about a year ago, right? And so we're a couple of years behind all the male kind of driven projects. And I think the shift will be there, but I think we've got a long way to go.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that. So you mentioned about capital, and let's put capital aside. Let's say capital is equally strewn about, which we know that's not true. When it comes to increasing the presence of women in crypto and NFTs, do you think it has to be in a more of inclusive space where, projects you mentioned, they are bringing on, women to their board or women onto their projects, or it's more women are creating their own communities and all galvanized together and pushing things forward? What do you think you would see that balance? Is it a mix of both, or, kind of siloed in that sense?
I do see it as being a mix of both will get us the furthest along. I think we look at men in the NFT space as our allies, and we think that if we can all work together if we are all on the same mission of bringing more women into the space and making projects more kind of appealing to women, and with the feminine mindset, right? So bringing people, kind of bringing women onto the project management team of like, oh, what is a female perspective about this thing and about the roadmap? Are there any aspects that perhaps might be, inclusive to women that we haven't done yet? I think will get us the furthest direction. However, I think we're seeing a lot of women frustrated by the lack of women in the space who are taking it upon themselves and to create ownership and just starting something from scratch and their own project. And you're seeing a lot of these women-led projects be women-led and only women-led projects. So you're getting women who are NFT artists or artists in general who are transitioning to the NFT space, who are excited to lead the project and find a project, but also having a full women kind of management team. The social media manager is female. And so I think I see a lot of the evolution as women kind of taking control of their own projects and starting something that is only women led. But I think where we're going to make the biggest impact is when the men led projects start to let women in.
That makes sense.
Well,
I want
and
to
also,
go ahead, Jen. We'll go, Mint-Ecell. Go ahead.
I was just going to add, I feel like when the two communities come together, when the men-led projects and the women-led projects start supporting each other, which I think we are seeing more of that. I also think it's interesting, like Fame Ladies Squad is one that I think of, that it was created by men. They lied about it and said it was created by women, and then the community found out, and the community then took over the project from these men and have built it into something amazing. So the space is such an interesting space overall, and we definitely need to help the women that are creating, and that's why we started the Nifty Chicks for multiple reasons, is to shine a spotlight on those women-led projects, and also talk to women artists and also teach women how to get into the NFT space, because it's a complex space, and many women don't necessarily have the initiative, I guess, to do their own research and learn about it. So we're hoping that through the show we'll be able to help them get started.
That was, Mint-Ecell, that was actually what I was going to talk to you about, is like why you guys focused specifically on NFTs for your podcast, but it sounds like a little bit of your answer there. But I want to skip over to something else. Why do you guys feel it is actually, what do you feel about NFTs and why it's so complicated for the public to understand? You just mentioned that point. Why is it so complicated for people to wrap their minds around?
I think for me, it's like when I first got started in it, it was like learning a new language. There's so many things to know, and honestly, I think that when you first hear about NFTs, you think, well, why would I get involved in this? It's just a picture online, and if you're not interested in art or owning an online picture, like it doesn't really make sense. I know when I first got into it, I was like, why would I pay money for this when like they say, you can just right click and save it? Why would I pay money?
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, like, how do you get someone past that stage of like, why, to, okay, now I understand? Where was that illumination for you per se? And how do we get other people to see that illumination in their own selves?
Yeah, for me, I was super fortunate. So, actually, a year ago today, I didn't know what an NFT was. I was involved in crypto, but NFTs I've heard of NFTs, but I just didn't bother even to do my own research. And for me, I was so fortunate to be around, now that I moved to Puerto Rico, people who are kind of experts in the space, or maybe not experts, but people who like live, eat, and breathe in the space. And so what I did is I seeked people's kind of different perspectives on what NFTs are and why, and really utilized their guidance on how to get started. So, I had dinner with someone who is very much involved in blockchains, and she's kind of spearheading some NFT things, and she explained it to me in her own words, and I was like, okay, I get it. I think I get it. That kind of makes sense. But I was intrigued enough by the possibilities of NFTs and where it could go, right? I have a financial background, and so I'm always interested in making money, and I knew that it's possible to make money in NFTs. And so I was curious enough to like go ask for more kind of guidance on that. And so that's when I literally the next day I was like, okay, this is intriguing. I'm kind of getting it. I called up Erin. We had dinner that night, and I was like, okay, explain it to me in your words, because everyone has different ways of explaining things. And so for whatever it was, Erin and her partner, the way that they explained things to me, it was just like, oh, and it clicked. It was like, I mean, it was a game over at that point. Everything started to make sense to me, and it was just a matter of different perspectives and the way that things had been, said to me and explained to me. And so that's really my kind of experience into like having that click in my own mind. And like I said, if I wasn't so interested in making money, then I probably wouldn't have cared. But I knew that that was something I wanted to do, and as soon as it clicked, I was like, oh my gosh, I can make money in real estate, virtual real estate. I can make money in flipping NFTs and buying and selling in the classic sense. There's so many different ways. And so that's really what intrigued me to then it was basically a deep dive into the rabbit hole after that.
That makes sense. I particularly like what you mentioned about actually seeking out a wide array of people that can explain it to you, and then someone that can explain to a language that really clicks for you. I think that's a really, really big point. And Jenft, you do have a traditional finance background, still doing things in traditional finance. Why has traditional finance traditionally looked down on crypto for so long? Do you think that view is changing as someone that's kind of both toes in both camps? Do you think some of that view is changing, or the opinion of NFTs and crypto is changing from the perspective of traditional finance?
It is changing, but it's taken a while. And the reason that is because us in finance, we're learning, a lot of what we've learned has been from books, right? So textbooks, right? In the classic education sense, talking to, well, if you look around at what finance is mostly comprised of, it's, older white men, and they are a bit more reserved, right, in their mindset. Most financial advisors are on that kind of older side, and it's a little intimidating, right? So NFTs and crypto in general has been very intimidating. But then on the real, I think the core reason is the fact that it's been deemed risky, right? So everyone knows that, crypto in general is risky. NFTs are risky. At any point in time, we have to make the assumption that our investment can go to zero. And no one in the traditional financial world would recommend crypto to any of their clients because of that level of risk. And I think for so many years it has been risky because it's been a lot of retail investors, the me's, the general population who is just curious about crypto and investing in it. But now what you've seen in the last year is a shift of institutional money going into the crypto space. And with that, you're seeing a lot of the big banks get into crypto, and quite frankly, they can't be into crypto and not be able to recommend it to their clients, right? So if I'm a client sitting across from, one of these big banks, and I know that they have a team dedicated to crypto and they have their own investments in crypto, how come I can't? And so I think that kind of differentiation between like what the big banks are doing and what the me's of the world are doing, they're starting to become more aligned. And so once that you've got more institutional buy-in into the crypto space, the banks were now starting to trade it. You've got a Bitcoin ETF. At that point, it's like, it's all bets are off. And now you're starting to see a lot of people kind of gravitate towards the space because of curiosity. And I mean, if it's so risky, then why are people in it? Why are the institutions in it? So I think you're starting to see a shift, but we're behind.
Yeah, you are. The
And
perspective.
then we have a day like today.
Right, exactly, which is a perfect example of like, it's still risky. This is all risky, right? So, you got to just be smart.
Yes, I love that last point. Being smart, understanding your own investment objectives, because we don't give a financial advice, but we do tell people to do diligence on some things that could be interesting for themselves. So thank you both for that amazing perspective. Where can we tap in and keep in touch with the Nifty Chicks and to hear all the things that you guys are doing? Where can people follow you guys?
The best place would be YouTube. We've got the Nifty Chicks on YouTube. We do put the video on YouTube and also the audio on any podcast player. So you can find us on your favorite podcast player. And of course, we're on all the socials at the Nifty Chicks. Primarily Twitter and Instagram would be the best place for news and updates. But yeah.
Thank you. We will be tapping in and keeping in touch with the Nifty Chicks. Thank you, ladies, for your time. And we hope to have you guys back soon.
Thank you
so much.
Thanks for having us.
That was great, man. That was great.
We are back, Zaid. We are back. Great interview. Really enjoyed their perspective. It was really good to hear.
Absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of NFTs and cryptocurrency, I feel like they've been compared to a lot of things over time. Like the invention of the internet. People compare cryptocurrency to that. People compare it to the invention of the credit card. But did you know that crypto has also been compared to tulips? Yeah. So we're going to get into the legends of the market, where we take a look at key moments in financial market history that changed the world. And we're kicking things off with Tulipmania.
One of the classic finance stories people throw around is Tulipmania. Skeptical about a novel asset class? Tulipmania. Doubting a trendy tech stock? Tulipmania. Most people know the general story. Way back when, in the 17th century, the Dutch ruled the world, and a new asset class became wildly capitalized. Tulips. One estimate, based on the price of beer at the time, suggests that top-tier tulips in this period reached modern-day prices of $750,000. What? Remember that meme that was going around during the height of COVID that was like, number go up? Turns out there's even a Dutch equivalent. A Dutch writer in 1636 wrote, quote, "O noble tulip, sweet O highly prized flower," unquote. But Tulipmania is probably best summarized by a conversation that happened around that time in Holland. A gardener was talking to his brother-in-law, who put a little bulb in his hand and said, "That is a Gouda." The gardener replied that it must have cost a lot of money. His brother-in-law said, "True, but it still isn't paid for." And so the basic elements of Tulipmania ring true with any speculative mania: inflated prices, using borrowed money, and of course, irrational exuberance. Some Dutch thought the passion for tulips would last forever. bold claims for an asset that has a max lifespan of 5 years. And by the way, didn't even make HGTV's 24 Can't Kill Flowers for beginners. These things are hard mode, people. So, Tulipmania stands as a cautionary tale, a plant parable, a fable of floral fancy. But here's the hot take. It may be a bit overplayed. History professor Anne Goldgar wrote a book called Tulipmania, Money, Honor, and Knowledge. Contrary to popular belief, she says, quote, there weren't that many people involved, and the economic repercussions were pretty minor. Her view? The popular narrative is tainted by propaganda pamphlets distributed at the time, put out by Dutch Calvinists who worried the boom in consumerism would lead to societal decay. Tulipmania sticks with us to this day. It's no surprise. Financialized flowers are the ultimate hybrid of beauty, nature, and greed. Anyway, you guys want to buy any of these? Huh?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm buying a tulip for $750,000, man.
No, that sounds a little absurd, obviously in hindsight, but I think in the moment it would have sounded absurd to me.
You know, I think just the tulip story. Obviously, if you're in crypto or any sort of investment or bubble environment, you hear the tulip story all the time. I think it just gives me comfort to know that like us humans were irrational, just going back hundreds of years, right? Like just people paying $1 million for a JPEG of a monkey is very similar to people buying tulips for $750,000. I think just there's something comforting about that.
The human behavior never changes. It's good to know our ancestors were like us. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about tulips along the way, especially with the way crypto markets are right now. But anyways, we'll end it there. Thanks for everyone for hanging out with us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Don't open your portfolio if you don't have to, and then tune in tomorrow for more stuff about markets, crypto, NFTs, all that good stuff.
See you tomorrow, y'all.
We out.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in every day. Also, hit that like, subscribe, and notification buttons. We'll see you tomorrow.